building resilience to withstand burdens, but also understanding which emotions are constructive and which are not. So it's about kind of learning to be less reactive and enhancing your capacity to endure discomfort. So embracing curious acceptance and progress along the path of self-discovery. So if you think about stress coming in, which is your chemical reacting to something, like oxytocin is being released, I think that's what it is. Like if you're reacting to something that's stressful, it means that you care about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good, because when we recognize that, it's important to understand that that is a chemical reaction that our body is having, but it's having the power to decide where our time and mental energy go. And I think that's what creates resilience, is when you've got something coming in that's unavoidable and you approach it with acceptance. Stress fundamentally isn't, like, it's not enhanced. We're kind of trying to look at it as a point of excitement instead of burden. And that was a big thing for me, because a lot of resilience training came into when I was faced with an opportunity, being like not stressed out or upset by it, but trying to change the emotional reaction or response to it to, shit, okay, my body's having a reaction to this. It must mean something to me. Why don't I look at it as an exciting thing? Which is really hard to do, but it's never handed to you. You can't just magically turn that into something that's exciting. It's gained through life experience and your lived experiences. And I always try and think of it as like resilience being like when you see one of those leaves that have got those really fine hairs on, and you see like the raindrops kind of fall off the leaf. It's almost like beating off it. And if you think of that, the problem's not absorbed into the leaf, it's just gently rolls off. And I think that that's kind of what resilience is giving yourself that skin that allows the problem to roll off, not absorb it. You're kind of just letting it roll past, and you're learning from that. And I think it's that sort of emotions. We have a thought that comes in, we try and attach an emotion to that thought, it changes our physical state, and we then behave or execute to what that is, and then results back to the thought again. So it's kind of changing your emotional response to the obstacle that comes in, and like changing our emotional state to how we deal with the problem. And I think that inherently causes us to create more resilience when being dealt with stress. And everyone's stresses are different, and you could argue that people's stresses are more difficult than others, but inherently we all have more stress regardless of how much money you earn or where you sit on the cycle. Like, it's all relative. But I think that the way in which we deal with it can be a lot easier if we try and manage our emotions. And I think that comes down to knowing and understanding yourself, which we can all spend more time working on.
It's all about perspective, right? Again, when I had this first fight in Thailand, I wouldn't say I was extremely scared. I think somehow I managed to transfer the emotional view. Instead of being scared, I was just excited because it was a new thing, as a new thing in Thailand, fighting in Thailand, and just in a completely different world. I mean, country, you can say world because it's a completely different world in Thailand. But then I somehow managed to, just to transfer the emotion to, instead of being fearful, I was really, really excited. I was like, damn, this is going to be a really cool experience, and I'm definitely going to talk about it in the future. And that was it. But then the second time I couldn't do it because I was so scared.
Really?
Second fight, I was just scared shitless. So.
And what was going through your mind at that point?
Second time, I was just like, I don't want to be here. Like, as well, maybe he had to do something, but I accepted that fight on like 2 days' notice. So it was Wednesday. I accepted that, and my friend messaged me, look, we looking for someone to fight on Friday because one of the guys pulled out. Would you be interested in doing this? Which is very interesting because at that time I started to pray in Thailand. I started to pray. I was never really religious or anything, but I prayed and I said I was asking for challenges. And then the next day came, and she messaged me, that friend. She's like, the coach wants to talk with you because someone pulled out. Would you accept the fight? And at first, my initial reaction was like, no way. Like, there's no way I'm doing this. But then I clocked that, like, I literally, the day before I prayed for challenges, I was like, yeah, go on then. Like, you were asking.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I was like, fuck.
It's funny, like...
Yeah. It's funny how it worked. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, because I remember when I was a kid and I used to play on like the school rugby team, and I was way too small to be on playing for rugby, even at that age, like 14, 15. I think I even tried at 16, but
Yeah.
it was like kids were way bigger than me, right? And like every time I would play for like a home game or an away game, I would always be like, fuck, this is going to hurt. I'm going to get tackled. I hate this. Why the fuck am I here? And I always used to say to myself, Rupert, you put yourself here. You put yourself in this situation. Like, this is your choice.
Yeah.
You chose to play rugby. You didn't have to. And then I kind of, in that moment, would be like, yeah, I guess I did have that choice. And I think what kind of relieved some of that stress or anxiety that I was feeling at that time was you are in control and you do have choices. I think sometimes where we feel like the choice is removed from us, we then start to sort of panic a bit. But I think what it is remembering inherently that you do have a choice. Like you could have just not turned up to that.
Yeah,
ring.
exactly.
Like you could, like you don't have to.
It's all about how true you are to yourself. Like, no one knew that I prayed and I asked for challenges.
Sure.
Only me. So I was like, I could have just said, oh, I'm like, no, I'm injured or whatever. But I just couldn't live with that for the rest of my life, probably, because I was like, so you just asked and you got an opportunity, but now you're not really taking it.
But I think like for those that are listening is like, when given an opportunity to challenge yourself, regardless of what the challenge is, if it's too much, you can just stop and you can just not do it. And like, you always have that choice. Some people are like, oh, I don't have a choice. Like, I have to do this thing. Like, no, like, I think inherently we have choices and we can choose what we want to do. Some may be easier more than others, but I think that there's a lot more control than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can jump to the next question, and I think one of the last questions as well. Why is, in your opinion, resilience is one of the most essential traits in order to become successful?
I think that in order to become successful, you need to be able to embrace challenges as opportunities and not run away from them. In that, I think if you want to be good at anything, and like whatever that goal is to be good at it, you will be met with obstacles along that path if you're looking to either better yourself or become an incredible piano player, or like there will be times where you will be down and out and not want to go on. And I think that resilience is that trait that will take you further, because it's like what we were saying, motivation isn't going to get you there. Like, I have no expectation when it comes to motivation. If motivation is there, then great. I've got some motivation, brilliant.
Yeah.
But I know I can't count on that all the time. And I think resilience is one of those traits in which it's earned through experience, because it's a trait that is built on being able to persevere through times where you might not necessarily be able to. It's like being able to perform on your worst days. It's showing up when you don't want to. And that is callousing your mind, as David Goggins would say. It's like when you look at your hands and you've got that like rough skin, if you're like picking up a weight all the time, or it's like,
toughens.
Yeah, it's creating that next layer.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
one of my favorite quotes as well from Chris Williamson. I'm sounding like a fanboy because I'm always quoting him, but I am.
Yeah, you can be a fanboy.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like that guy.
We love you, Chris.
I'm not sure if that's his quote, but he quotes that a lot on his podcast, and he says, "The person who loves the walk always going to walk further than the person who loves the destination." So again, I guess the perfect example would be you and Charlie with Dosmas. Maybe you don't love every aspect of running a business, but then you started that business because you had a love for food and Mexican culture and just running a business really. And I think it's really important to not only be resilient at the thing that you hate, but it's going to be a lot easier to be a lot more resilient at the thing that you actually love. Well, look at the podcast thing. I mean, doing the research for the podcast is definitely not my favorite part of doing it. Although I really like to learn about new topics, but having this conversation is what really makes me
love it
and just feel fulfilled, because I absolutely adore these conversations and I love self-development in general and everything that can make me a better person. I just want to just get straight into that.
For sure. And like with my business with Dosmas, it was a case of when and like still growing it. Like, yeah, you've got your own journey and your goals, but it's also why in which you do things. It's like, how far can I take this?
Yeah, exactly. How far can I take this?
Yeah. What am I going to learn from this?
Yeah.
What are the failures and setbacks going to teach me? And I think that grows a stronger person. And it's understanding why you're doing things and not just doing things that are for the wrong reason. It's like knowing what your values are in life and then leaning into the things that contribute towards those values.
Exactly.
And if you're one of those people that live by their core values, in which helps them grow and understand themselves, and you're doing things that are allowing you to help and grow and understand yourself in a more meaningful way, then I think you'll far surpass anyone that's doing something for not much reason at all.
Exactly.
Like you were saying, when you were becoming a singer, you didn't want to do singing, but someone that wants to be a singer is going to go every day to the show and practice singing.
It. That's what made me realize that if the guy loves that generally, he's just gonna crush me so much, because I can't even spend an hour on the piano.
Because he's more resilient to the times that he has to get up and sit on the piano and grind it out. Whereas you're like, I don't have any resilience to this because I don't want to do it. It doesn't help me get to understand Conrad anymore.
Yeah. So that's why it's very important to choose the path that you actually enjoy, and the path that you generally enjoy, that's where you're going to be the most resilient at, in my opinion.
I agree.
That's why again, I'm not saying that the path is going to be easy, because you definitely going to face a lot of obstacles and challenges, and you'll have to be resilient. And I guess the main point is to embrace those challenges as opportunities and just say to yourself, no, it's not actually a hard thing. It's just something that is gonna make me a better person.
And I think there's always a way through becoming more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think it's remembering that resilience is a skill that can be cultivated over time.
Yeah.
It's consistent practice that will contribute to your overall ability to bounce back from adversity and negative life's ups and downs more effectively. And I think through some of the strategies that we've gone through today, will allow you to build upon those skills. And by doing that, it's first understanding what resilience is in its truest form, but also understanding what it is about you and the reasons why in which you want to do things that will help you become more resilient and develop those skills in order for you to show up on the days that you don't want to.
Yeah, that's it. Well, let's finish up
The
with
secret question.
secret question. So we're supposed to do this in the past 2 episodes, but we completely forgot.
We keep forgetting, but this is going to be
But this time we decided to take time.
a little tradition around here now.
So Rupert and I, we decided to come up with one secret question for each other. I don't know what he's going to ask me, and he doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. So that's going to be an interesting and raw moment without any research and how we can deal with these questions.
You first.
I'm first. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. So if you would have a son, a daughter, and she or he about to do something that you 100% know that he's going to fail and he's going to be embarrassed
Yeah.
and he's not going to feel good about it, but you can stop him from doing that and you can save him, and but yeah, so would you choose to save him, or would you let him fail and learn from the lesson?
I mean, as long as it doesn't hurt him, as in like physically, like you're making it sound like he's going to die.
Not that, but say for example he would break his leg or something.
Break his leg, and I knew he was going to break his leg. No, I wouldn't do any like physical harm to my child. Let's say, for example, he or she was like going to do something that was going to put them to the test where they might win or fail.
Yeah.
Like, let's say a race, and the kid's way faster.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I knew they weren't going to win that race.
Brock Lesnar on steroids.
And like, let's say I knew my kid was going to lose that race, but of course I'd let him still contribute.
But like if you actually know that he's going to get harmed in some sort of way, but
or like mentally
or physically, but you know he's going to learn a lot from that lesson and he's going to apply that in the future. Would you let him to get hurt, or you would save him?
Again, I think protecting my child physically from pain, as a parent, I would wholeheartedly try and protect my child from pain. But I know that he or she will have to go through challenges in which we'll put them to the test.
Yeah.
I think it goes to this rite of passage in which I think we all need during our adolescence when we grow into young adults.
Yeah.
There's not this rite of passage when you're transitioning from a boy to a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if I was to have children of my own, they would need to go through some sort of test.
Exactly.
That would, like if you look at 300, the film, they go out into the mountains and he's got to like kill that wolf and he comes back a man, Leonidas, and he's got like the wolf's head and shit. Like you hear in these stories of ancient traditions where they go through these rite of passage journeys, which they don't know whether they're going to live or die. I mean, that's like an extreme. I wouldn't put my kid in a position where he's going to like kill a wolf or anything, but I would definitely like to come up with some sort of challenge in which puts them to the test of dealing with adversity, whether that's like a Hell Week kind of challenge or something. And I think it does have to be something physical.
Yeah.
Because I think that's so connected to your mind.
Absolutely.
Whether that's like getting them training, taking them rock climbing where, you know, okay, they're quite good at rock climbing, but this is going to really push the boundaries. I think where you're pushing the boundaries of what they're capable of, but doing that safely. Yeah, 100%. 100% I'd push their boundaries safely, but would allow them to know their own capabilities, because I think that that's important.
So you would break the leg?
Maybe like a little fracture or something. Yeah.
Nah, I get you. I understand. Maybe, I completely get you.
My question to you is, what does resilience mean to you? And if you could go back to your younger self and tell yourself, why do you think it's important to create resilience? Like if you go back to your, like thinking of like going back to your 10-year-old self
Oh,
and sort of saying,
he would so benefit from that so much. What was the first question? Why?
so like, what does resilience mean to
What
you?
does resilience mean to me?
And I'll change it. If you could go back to your younger self, when do you think you had first developed the idea of that's resilience? I know you kind of shared that in your story a bit, but maybe a bit before that.
Yeah. What does resilience mean to me? So I think resilience means to me to be able to persevere through challenging times and be able to kill yourself in order to grow.